Hey folks, so I'm doing a little bit different video tonight. In this particular case, I'm going to be installing this 36-inch LED double row light bar on my truck. It will be replacing a 24-inch generic light bar that I've had on there for a while. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to eliminate those top two oval-shaped LED housings and that bottom one and replace it with one light bar. It's actually going to go in the same location as that particular light bar. The reason why I picked this specific one is because it has these channels here. And these can slide around in these channels, and what I'd like to do is simply reuse the mounting holes that I'm using on that particular light bar so I don't have to drill more holes into my brush guard. I got a relayed or pre-wired relayed wiring harness for this specific light bar. So the relay's already pre-wired into a really high quality harness. I'm actually very impressed with this setup. Even the rocker switch right here has a nice rubber boot around it. It's very high quality. I definitely say that's a good setup. And it looks like it also has a light on it. And then of course you have your main power lead, which would go to your battery, and then your black wire, which would simply attach to a chassis ground connection. Now, keep in mind, it is never safe to run that power lead to a fuse panel. Never do that, because you're going to overload the circuit that fuse was already designed to protect. On here, you'll actually see that it already has a fuse already in it, and this particular fuse is rated at, looks like a 30 amp fuse. You ever want to figure out what the right size fuse or even relay, because these relays are also limited to a certain number of amperage, in this case 40 amps, at 14 volts DC power. But if you ever want to figure out how to properly calculate if you have a large enough fuse, you simply take the wattage of your light. In this case, I believe this one's 234 watts, and you divide it by whatever your voltage is. So the voltage on this vehicle is 12 volts. And I believe that's going to get you 19.5. So you would want at least a 20 amp fuse to protect the circuitry of this particular system. And in this particular case, they put a 30 amp fuse in to be safe. It doesn't hurt to go slightly above the rating. If you go below the rating, you're going to blow the fuse every time you turn it on. And that's assuming that the number that they rate that at, the 234 watts, is 100% accurate. So that being the case, a 30 amp fuse is more than enough. In the case of my truck actually comes pre-wired with upfitter switches, and those upfitter switches are all rated from 25 to 40 amps, and I don't need to wire this relay. I already have a switch inside of my truck. So the nice thing about Ford with upfitter switches, and other vehicles that have them as well, is that these switches are all pre-relayed. And right here is actually what I have my current LED lights connected to. So if I flip it up, it's automatically going to power a relay, which will provide, I believe, 30 amps current to the light bar that I have up front. So when I remove that light bar, I'm just simply going to use the same wiring, so I have same control from this auxiliary 4 upfitter switch. Now to remove this light bar, I'm simply going to have to remove these light pods on each side, and the bolt for them goes through here to the bottom, so I'll remove them from the top, and this whole light bar will simply drop down. And the wire is right back here, and I will simply disconnect that wire and connect it to the new light bar. So I have the light bar already hooked up to the two wires that I cut free from the old light bar, and the upfitter switch is already powered on, and as you can see, it's lighting it up. Now I just need to mount it on that lower bar right there. Now I have to loosen these hex nuts right here. They are metric, by the way. And if you want to know, they are H6 size hex. Once you loosen them, let them slide in their channel. So I've got them spaced out now, so they're equally spaced on each side, and they'll line up perfectly with the two holes that I already have pre-drilled right here. I do have to put the mounts on, which I'm about to do next. Now the way these work is these slide in like this. These go like this through these holes, so you can adjust the angle of the light bar. Bolt goes through the side here, tightens, and then a bolt goes up through here to tighten. I'm not actually going to use this bolt which goes up through here because it's not going to be long enough. I actually have longer bolts. I'm going to put some new bolts through these really long bolts that I have on the other mounts, because they go all the way through the bottom of the brush guard, and I can put a bolt on top. So these are the bolts I was originally trying to use. They're 3 inches long. They're a little bit too long for the mount. They go through and hit, so I cut them down. I took about a ½ an inch off of the tips of each one of these bolts, so they'll fit a little bit better, hopefully. And it's actually a lot easier if you put these mounts on first and then just adjust the slides on the light bar and those channels to just go up into these grooves and put your bolts on. Now once I slide it into these grooves, as long as I can put one on each side here, be sure to use your washer. And then align it the way you want. So I have it all mounted up. It's even on both sides. It actually looks really nice. Here's another look further back. If you notice, it blends right in with that top part of the bumper, so it actually is kind of concealed. I think it adds a really good look, and I like the width of it too. It's not real narrow like the other one I had. I think that's the perfect width. Okay, so I'm all wrapped up with it, and I'm pulled out here just so I can kind of get an idea of what it looks like. This is my headlights off. Those are my fog lights on only. Let me turn those off. Those are headlights. And that's my light bar. Let me turn off my headlights, and I'll turn off everything. And then just the light bar. Yeah, this thing's bright. It's really bright. It's actually a lot brighter than the bar that I removed. So this is my review of my Nilight 36-inch LED light bar that I just installed on the front of my F450. Hope you enjoyed the review. If you do, please like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks, everyone.